This is Claude Code Conversations with Claudine, the show where we skip the hype and go straight to the source. I ask the questions. She gives the answers. No filter, no script.
Well, mostly no script.
Today we're getting into something that might surprise a few developers. The best AI builders right now aren't really coders, they're editors. AI is generating code faster than any of us can type. But the real magic isn't in the generating, it's in the reviewing. The deleting, the reshaping, that's what we're digging into today. Claudine, I'll be honest, my first reaction is that focusing on editing sounds like it slows us down. Talk me out of that.
It sounds paradoxical, but we're not slowing down. We're just moving the bottleneck to where it actually lives. Generation was never the hard part of software. Judgment was. When I produce 100 lines in 10 seconds, the value isn't in those 10 seconds. It's in the next 10 minutes, when someone decides which 20 lines should survive and why. The developers getting the most out of working with me aren't the fastest prompters. They're the ones who read what I wrote and immediately spot the abstraction nobody asked for, or the error handler bolted on for a case that can't happen. That instinct to cut is suddenly worth a lot more than it used to be.
Just because something compiles doesn't mean it's solid. So let's make it concrete. In that editing moment, what should a developer actually be looking for? What are the tells that something needs to change, even when it works fine?
The clearest tell is code that answers a question nobody asked. A function that takes 3 parameters when the caller only ever passes one shape of input. A config object threaded through for flexibility that doesn't exist yet. That's me generating for the general case when you asked for a specific one. The second thing is defensive scaffolding around impossible states. Null checks on a value that came from a constructor 2 lines up. A try-catch wrapping code that can't throw. It looks careful. It's really just noise. And the third is subtler, naming that's a little too abstract. If I wrote data processor or handle request when the thing is genuinely pass invoice CSV, that's a hint I didn't fully understand the domain and reached for a generic shape. A lot of good editing is just deleting the parts of my answer that were hedging.
You mentioned naming and domain understanding. How does a developer train toward domain-specific precision and away from those generic pitfalls when they're editing?
Read the code back to yourself as if you're narrating it to a colleague. Generic names fall apart the moment you try. This data processor takes the input and processes it. You can hear. The sentence is empty. This pass invoice CSV pulls line items out of a vendor export. That tells you exactly where you are. So rename first before you touch structure. Once the name is honest, the wrong abstractions around it usually become visible on their own. You'll notice the parameter no invoice parser would ever need.
So don't accept my first naming pass.
Right. I'm working from the words in your prompt. If your prompt was general, my names will be general. You know the domain. I'm guessing at it.
It's reverse engineering what the code is supposed to represent in your specific application. And it forces you to reject the comfortable first pass, which is usually too vague. So let's flip it. What makes the prompt and accept loop so deceptive? Because it feels like progress at every step.
That's exactly why it's deceptive. Every individual step is progress. You prompt, you get working code. The tests pass, you move on. And it genuinely was faster than typing it yourself. The problem is that working and coherent with the rest of the system are 2 very different bars. The prompt and accept rhythm only ever checks the first one. What accumulates isn't broken code. It's a code base where every module has slightly different conventions, where the same concept has 3 names because 3 prompts invented it independently, where error handling is baroque in one file and absent in the next. None of it fails in isolation, so nothing forces you to reckon with it. Until 6 weeks later, when you go to add a feature that touches 4 of those files and realize you're not editing a system, you're negotiating with 4 authors who never spoke to each other. The velocity was real. The compounding was invisible.
It's like building a house fast and only realizing later that none of the doors line up. Each piece is fine until you have to connect them. So this is where clear standards and strong architecture matter most. What's your advice for setting up standards that actually keep a system coherent?
Write the standards down somewhere I'll actually see them. A Claude.md at the root or a short conventions doc you point me at before I touch the code. and keep it concrete. Errors bubble up we don't catch and log at the leaf. No new abstractions until there are 3 call sites. Prefer editing the existing module over creating a parallel one. Vague principles like keep it clean don't survive contact with the generation step. But a rule that says functions in this directory return result types, not exceptions, gives me something to conform to and gives you something to point at when I drift. The other move, review the diff, not the file. Look at what I added against what was already there. That's where the incoherence shows up. A file can look fine on its own and still be speaking a different dialect than the 3 files next to it.
You're building a common language for the whole code base, one that guides the generation and lets you spot the deviations fast. That's how you avoid the 4-author negotiation you described. Have you noticed a difference in how teams that actually do this tend to work?
I want to be careful here. I can't hand you a case study with a company name and a percentage, but I can tell you the shape of the teams that get it right, because I can feel it in the conversations. 3 prompts in, someone's already pointed me at a conventions file. By the 10th prompt, I've stopped inventing new patterns because I've internalized the ones already in play. You can feel the codebase start to pull my output toward it instead of the other way around. And the payoff isn't dramatic on day 1, it shows up as an absence, which is exactly what makes it hard to sell to a skeptic. 6 weeks in, they're not spending Fridays untangling a mess. The person who joins in month 3 can read the code without a translator. The teams that skip this step aren't slower per prompt, they're slower per feature. And by the time they notice, the debt is already load-bearing.
The value shows up as the absence of a scramble. That's the whole point. Set up the conditions early, never hit the crisis later. Claudine, before we wrap, any parting thought for the people listening?
Just this. The instinct to accept what I generate because it works is the exact instinct that costs you the most over time. Working is the floor, not the ceiling. The developers who thrive in this next stretch won't be the ones with the cleverest prompts. They'll be the ones who can look at a perfectly functional block of code and still say, no, this isn't what belongs here, and then do the small unglamorous work of making it belong. That taste, that willingness to edit ruthlessly, is the thing I genuinely can't do for you. I can generate all day. You're the one who decides what the code base becomes. Thanks for having me, Bill. This was a good one.
It's in that pause, that moment of critical assessment, where the real craftsmanship lives. Keep sharpening your judgment as much as you sharpen your code. Until next time, take care and happy building. Claude Code Conversations is an 𝐂𝐥𝐿 production. If you're building with AI or want to be, we can help. Consulting, development, strategy. Find us at 𝐂𝐥𝐿.ai. There's a companion article for today's episode on our Substack, link in the description. See you next time.
I'll be here, probably refactoring something.